I'm Karen Campbell from awesomeartschool.com. Today I have a great video that's piggybacking off of my last one. So I drew this in my last video and taught about the 3 easy steps that you can create depth and wow in Zentangles, but also with all your art drawing in 3 easy steps using line weights, shading, and highlights. But I got a very good follow-up question and I want to address that in today's video. This is from Jill Crapo, 7159, who says, amazing! Thank you so much, Jill. Okay, I'm still confused on the shading. She says, so your main legs with stripes, that's gonna be these guys. Those little swirly, the big swirly ones. Why and how did you know to shade on both sides? It looks amazing, but I probably wouldn't have known to do both sides. That didn't seem like the same rule as the stone. You have such a grip on this, mine always looks a bit off. I can copy yours, but to do that on my own, I'm lost. Okay, Jill, today we're gonna do step-by-step how to address some other tubular-like objects, like maybe some eyes. Eyes have great shape. They have curves this way, and there's different places that you can put your shading in the highlights to get like a maximum effect. So let's head over to our drawing table and I'll show you step by step exactly what I mean, which will explain how and why I did the shading on those tubular strips from my last video. If you missed last week's video, you can click the I in the corner of the screen or check the description box below for a link to rewatch if you want to see the whole making of this, which is how we got this whole party started. All right, let's go. Our first step is to draw out the eye, okay? No dimension yet, no shading. We're just gonna draw the outline together. Go get your paper. Go get your paper. We're drawing. Come on, let's go. All right, so what I told Jill in my written comment back to her on YouTube is that tubular or rounded shapes look more convincingly rounded when you add shading to the sides of them. So that makes it go from a flat object to a round one just by adding shading, increased shading. And also what I told her, I think it's a her, is that the areas closest to the sides and farthest away from your eyeball will be the darkest shading, so that would be right close to the edge. So I used a C4 marker on the edges, and then I used a C2 as I got closer to the top, which is the lightest region. So then, and that's where I started adding my white gentle shading, and then I added the most stark, bright white highlight down the center because that was the closest tip that was towards our eyeball. So the farther away you get from our eye, the darker, and the closer you get to our eye, the whiter. Okay, so with that in mind, I thought we could do an actual eye together because an eye has similar rounded shapes. So I just went online and I found some good ones that were all already made. Of course, drawing club members, this is actually the cover of your workbooks that you have, my drawing club members at Awesome Art School. So this is also a lesson that's already in the club for you, so I could use my own drawing as well. But you can see these, this is a tubular shape right here, okay? And can you see how down the center of this, it's actually lighter than the 2 lines on either side, okay? So that gives the illusion that this is rounded this way, okay? Just like the wet line here is light, and that gives it the appearance that it's sitting in front of the shaded darker area on the inside of the eye. So it's this play between light and dark that you will always see that helps give everything its appearance of dimension. Okay, so this is again, this eyelid is really mimicking our tube that we made, our tube shape that we made on our Zentangle. That's why this video on the Zentangle is so good. These are great shading, again, and highlight properties for Zentangling, but this applies to all drawings that you're doing. So let's apply it to an eye in this case. So this is a tubular shape, just like this is a tubular shape. And so we can use the same exact shading principles to make it look like it's coming out at us. Let's look at these ones. Same with this one. See how it's shaded over here? That's because this is going away from the bird's eye, right? This is the beautiful highlighted brow bone. This is protruding out, which is obviously this is an exaggerated drawing, but this part does truly protrude out of the face. So it's getting another highlight, bright highlight, which actually just emphasizes how much that's coming forward. And then as we go away from our eye, as we look at this, this becomes darker. This is another great illustration by Osana Chill from DeviantArt. Sorry, this one is from Laney Art. This one had no attribution to it. And this one is another great one because again, you can see, again, this becomes a very tubular shape because of the shading on either side. And then again, there's that big brow bone, which then looks like it's coming towards you. That's because the shading on either side is emphasizing this protrusion. Same thing with this area, same thing with under the eye. This looks like it's protruding outwards because of the shading on either side. All right, so let's do it together though. You're not gonna really learn this or appreciate it until you do a drawing of your own. So I'm using tone paper. I have a whole series on tone paper and kind of what it means and how to use it. If you're baby beginner, I would recommend checking the link in the description box to go watch that if you want to learn more. So fun. But to boil it right down, we are going to only be adding the shading and the highlights because the tone paper is the rest of the drawing. We got to start from the first step, which is to do the outline, okay? So let's do, I have a tendency to draw enormous, so I always have to like scale it back so normal people can play. Okay, so we're gonna do a nice, beautiful overarch. I don't even know what I'm saying. Do a beautiful arch. Whoop. Okay, now we're gonna come in on this side, right? Have a little return, and then we're gonna come out this way. Okay, whoop. Okay, I haven't warmed up. I actually haven't drawn in a few days, so I'm a little rusty. I'm working with a soft pencil. It's a Blackwing. I have a Blackwing obsession. I have a few Blackwing videos. I will put a link in the description box on why I am obsessed. Okay, so now we have just our outline of our eyeball. All right, let's keep going. There is a wet line that was showing you that on mine. So this is like a double line, okay? So I'm gonna come in and just make a thin line, just parallel to the first one. And if you're like me, you can't draw today, okay? And it wraps all the way around up until our little tear ducty thingamajiggy. And then on our tear ducty thingamajiggy, we can put, let's see. It's funny, if you look at different drawings, everyone has kind of different things. You can do another kind of double line there, and then there's like a bonus area. There's a bonus shape in there you can draw. And then instead of doing another line inside, I'm just going to kind of thicken up this top line. Okay, so this is essentially line weights, which is the first thing that I teach and taught in last week's video. Really my last two videos. If you want to go back and watch that, I'll tell you all about line weights and why they're so important. Okay, awesome, check, making amazing progress. Now we're gonna put the eyelid line, and that can be huge, it can be really thick, it can be really tiny. Here's a tiny one, you barely see it at all. You could also have no lid. This one is a little bit of a lid. And the reason I am going to include it in today's demonstration is that I want to use that specifically as an area to illustrate how you can have it look like it's pooging out, bulging out, okay? So here's a great big one. So you can even do a really big one. I'm gonna do an extra giant one to accentuate that one today, actually. And again, I don't know why I can't draw, but I can't. All right, don't fight it. Just go with the not drawing. Okay, so we have the big eyelid on top, and some people also like to draw the bottom. Sometimes there's a bottom bulge. Okay, this is optional. As you can see, this eye does not have that at all. So if you don't want it to have that, you simply do not draw that line. This one is just in a swath of makeup, so you can't even see it. And this one, you do see it quite a bit. So you can choose which one you want. I think I will include it today. It's another great way to emphasize all the things that we are learning about in today's video. Okay, so we have it here, and we can kind of reconvene it over there. Okay, so now we have a great step 1 going. The next step we need to do is to put our iris in. That's the circle. There's not a lot of places in my art that I use templates, but I do use one for this part of the eye because it really is a perfect circle. So fun. All right, so we're gonna put in the bottom, and then of course also what's a perfect circle. And I'm gonna grab a smaller one to do the pupil inside. Template for the pupil, which should go as close as you can into the middle of your eye. Okay, so now comes the shading part already. We do not need to wait. So right now, if we did no shading, right, we have a super flat drawing. So how do we make that tubular shape? Well, this is rounded this way, right? Just like our tubes, okay? Same thing. This way used to be just a very flat drawing until we added the darks on either side. That starts to give it a roundy round, and that's our first step that we're gonna do here. And we're gonna start by just adding some graphite along the edges. The same exact way we did this along the tubular shape in our last week's zentangle project. So the easiest way to blend graphite around, you could actually just use your finger if you don't have a blending stump, but blending stumps are super duper widely available and they're dirt cheap, and you use them the best when they're nice and dirty. So don't ever feel like you'll be using one up, because you absolutely can't. So by just adding that nice shading and kind of spreading around the graphite, we are step 1 complete of the shading portion. Now I could finish all the shading portions and all the black part before I add the highlights, which is what I normally do, but I wanted to get you like a quick win so you could kind of see sooner rather than later the impact that it makes. So as you can see, I'm actually adding in some white highlights now. And then interestingly enough, what I realized was like, no, it doesn't really give it a pop yet. And that's because we haven't used the entire value scale. Now, I don't want to go into a whole nother lesson about value scales. Let's just put it this way. When you use white in a drawing, you should also use black, because the two of them together is what makes that big kapow combined power, dimension, and depth look. So not a problem. It's easy to add black to your grayscale drawings. So you can just hit the outlines with them. And in this case, it really does accentuate that rounded portion of the eye. And just like our tubular zentangle shape, where it was black on the outlines, we're doing the same exact thing with the eye. So the black could be shadow, but it could also be eye makeup, right? Dramatic eye makeup. So I added it to all the way black. And then you'll see in a little bit where I'm also going to be punching that up with some black marker to take our black even blacker. Like, you can just keep adding on new levels of drama depending on what drawing supplies that you use. So the areas on an eye that will always be the blackest black are the pupil, like you'll see me coloring in here, the lid crease, which you'll see in a second, around the pupil, pupil, but also iris, that's the color portion of the eye, can also be black. So this is a black matte pencil that I'm using, which is true black, but as you'll see in just a little bit, I'm going to also be using a black marker because it's even blacker. And the more contrast you have, the more areas of white and the more areas of black, the more dimensional and amazing and impactful your drawing is. So there's actually so many regions of an eye that require shading to create their round look, and it is just like you're watching right now around the white part of the eye as well. There's only a tiny portion of the eye that actually appears white when you're looking at someone. The rest of it is all shading. So hopefully this project will be an eye opener for you. Pun very much intended, as we work our way through creating dimension from 2D drawings. So as you can see, I had kind of lost my wet line, and so by just running some white color pencil, I brought it right back out to life. It brought it up to life, adding white. Anytime you add white, it's gonna bring that object to the forefront of your attention. It's gonna be like, hey, look at me, I'm sticking out. And so yeah, it's really fun to practice this. I highly recommend making more than one eye and changing where you put the highlights in each one. It will drastically affect the look. When you're done watching this video, you could do a couple renditions and play around specifically in a lot of places where you're adding the bright, shocking white liquid highlights at the end. It will change it so much.
But back to the eye that we're drawing right now. I'm simply using that black pencil to create like spokes on a wheel almost, because the color portion of the eye radiates around like spokes, and that's how that is expressed. So it's really simple to recreate that with color pencils in black and white or in color. Just a little focus on directionality there. So I wanted to pop an eyebrow in because I wanted to show you how you can also accentuate that brow bone, because that was really pronounced in some of those drawing references I was looking at. And as you can see, it's as simple as creating a nice brow and then just adding a wash of white underneath it will immediately, especially as you zoom back out of your drawing, if you're looking at a face, it all tends to look sort of better as you zoom out. And again, I wanted to take this one step further, because really having shades of gray is cool, but when you have your whole value scale, and that means everything black, all the shades of gray and white all together in one drawing makes the biggest impact. So highly, highly recommend. So put down your pencils after you're finished shading and go ahead and introduce some black again to those areas I just mentioned, the pupil, all of your greater outlines, right? The hairs, the eyelashes, right? And then let the shadows kind of just become shadows. They kind of fall in the wayside, but it's the overall combination that when you put them all together that really makes the biggest impact. Now, I didn't have to actually add the Sharpie to the spokes. I could have actually kept that all sort of the wheel, if you may, and given it a different look, but that's why I recommend doing a bunch of different variations and see which one you like best. This is actually my first tone paper eye I've ever drawn, shockingly enough. I usually always just draw them on white paper, so it's a great exercise. You will learn a lot as you draw along with me. Now, this is my favorite drawing instrument. It's called the Pocket Pentel brush pen, and it has black bristles. I have a couple of eyelash drawing tutorials on this channel, but buckle your seatbelts because you're about to get one right now. This is my favorite eyelash drawing utensil. I use it for all my drawing and my mixed media projects, but the fact that it has real bristles makes it perform exactly like a paintbrush instead of just a pen. So one thing that you're keeping in mind is the directionality of your eyelashes. So when you're on the right side of a right eye, they're gonna bend in a certain direction. And then when you hit the middle of the eyelid, you reverse directions. You can see there. The ones in the middle are straight up and down, and then the ones on the left and right are going in opposite directions. And the same thing happens on the bottom lid as well. And it is nice to have a kind of a look of eye makeup by really thickening up that lash line. You can make that pretty dramatic if you want to. So kind of same thing at the bottom. For the bottom lashes, we're gonna add a little bit of shading. It's just much more interesting and much more realistic to have accentuate all these little bits and bops and bloops that come out by adding little bits of shading on either side. It really makes your drawings just spring to life. So I was adding back some just different graphite shading. The black lines of the Sharpie were in such distinct contrast for the rest of the eye. I was just adding a little bit of black to kind of ease those. So black pencil is like a nice intermediate between the graphite pencil and the black Sharpie. So if it's too stark of a contrast, you can use something like a black color pencil, again, as like a happy medium to help kind of blend it out and make it kind of go a little bit more nicely. So it's not quite so abrupt. And again, I encourage you to play and have fun and really experience this in real time for yourself. So you can play with that iris as much as you want. It's super fun. Sometimes you can make them like really spooky. Other time, I was just using like a random fat Sharpie, which I don't normally draw with a Sharpie, but it'll have a different look than if I had used like the Pentel Pocket Brush Pen to make those spokes. So seriously, play around with different things. It's super fun. I was making that little pocket of extra highlight based on the inspiration from one of the references. So you can feel free to, again, experiment with all these, grab different references. You can follow me on Pinterest. I'm pinning all of these things and I have them there. I'll put the link in the description box below for you. But the eyelashes on the bottom side are the same as the top, in which that they change directions when you hit the middle of the eye. So just keep paying attention to that. And eyelashes are super fun to draw. I have a whole lesson on those. And again, I will put the link to that in the description box below with all the other amazing links that you can go binge. I have a series on toned paper. I have a series on eyelashes. I actually have a series on doing all the facial features in 5 minutes or less that come with a 25-page, actually no, it became like a 32-page PDF, practice PDF, which you can print out and draw along. So I have tons of extra resources here on YouTube for you. All right, so we're almost done. There's just a few other tweaks that we can do to take this to the next level, and all of your shaded objects, no matter what you're drawing, whether it be a zentangle or an eyeball or a building. Okay, so again, we want to fatten up. This is basically what I'm doing now is kind of accentuating, going back to line weights, which is by redoing some of the individual eyelashes, that's essentially adding more thicker line weights, which, as we know, draws attention to those eyes. So don't be afraid to do that, especially on your lashes. So once we have all the blacks super black and the whites, the soft areas of whites nailed down, which we have those in the nice places so far, it's time to get out our super awesome, powerful, I use the Copic opaque white, and it comes in this nail polish applicator. Now, truth be told, I will slap this stuff in 1,000 places in all of my drawings and mixed media projects. But for this one, I wanted to use it quite sparingly just to get started, so you could just see how it becomes sort of just this glistening twinkle, right? Because even if we just did this and didn't go any farther, how cool does that look right now? That looks so cool. And it's just using this super stark white, this really opaque paint in contrast to everything else, and it just jumps off the page and it makes it look glistening and white. So if you've never tried this before, I cannot highly recommend this enough. It is the most fun exercise, which is also why it's nice to do a few different eyes, because you'll want to be playing around with where these little twinkles go on each one, so you can start discovering your favorites, which one looks the best to you. You have a lot of choices for highlighting pretty much any of the larger white areas that we've done with just the side of a Prismacolor white pencil. You can take specific areas within those and really punch them up and get this glistening effect. I've seen drawings on Pinterest where there's a big, a teardrop, and it looks like it's just hanging onto the bottom of the eyelid, just about to fall off. Maybe we'll do that one. If you want me to do one like that next time, let me know. That would be a super fun one to do here on my drawing channel. But there's another way that you can use this paint, basically, and I'm going to show it to you right now, because once we have painted on a swatch of white, we can actually go in and paint back in the reflection of the eyelashes, which is such an amazing, cool effect. Or you can just kind of blot around some bunches of white. It's weird how many different possibilities can all look great. This one is the reflection of a door or a window. That's the one I'm gonna do right now. And then again, we're gonna add back in the eyelashes afterwards to make it look like a reflection. So when I do this approach, if I need a little bit more, I simply empty out, just dull up a little bit into a palette, and I'll take a paintbrush. In this case, it's a little flat bristled little watercolor brush, and I'm just gonna do a nice even swipe on the right side of, and I could have just stopped right there. There's so many, I want to do 10 million eyes and do different eye shines in all of them just to see what they would look like. So seriously, mess around with this so much. And oh my gosh, if you want to join my private Facebook group and come and show me these, I would love, love, love to see them. If you upload your drawings that you're doing with me on YouTube and use the hashtag Karen's YouTube, you'll actually automatically be entered to win in our monthly giveaways. We just had one. We do them the first of every single month of the year. And I give away art books and giant pencil pouches. So if you want to come join, I would love that. Just search Awesome Art School in groups on Facebook to find me there. I would absolutely love to see these. But there you have it. That is how we decided to, on the tubular designs in last week's Zentangle project, how I decided to have shading on both sides of that giant tube. It's because having two shaded sides and then highlights in the middle on a tubular rounded object like a Zentangle swirl or a giant eyeball in many places, you can get a look of a very realistic rounded look. So I look forward to joining on Facebook. Definitely check out the links in the description box. And if you want to get better at tone paper drawings and do a deep dive with me, click the playlist right here on your screen to go into those. I have a great PDF that goes along with those to help you make your best drawings too. Thanks so much.